All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll get started in just a few more minutes. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming to today's certificate. For today's agenda, we're just going to review some upcoming events and then have our two partners talk about our digital marketing certificate. So, upcoming events, we have the AMA PSC Perfect Pitch. That's next Tuesday, starting at 4 p.m. So, a little bit later on, I'll show a QR code for the sign up for that. Our Pro Bono Day kickoff does start this week. And then, if you're interested in joining board, our board interviews will be the 14th, 15th, and 16th. So, not next week, the week after. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail later on today. Some fun events. We are having an AMA cookout April 22nd, so a few weeks from now. So everyone is welcome. We'll have food, games, things like that. Our new Paquid date, if you're interested in coming to that, is going to be on the 24th. And then we're going to have an AMA Beach Day in March to kind of end the semester, talk about some things. So take a picture of this if you'd like. Have a picture. May, sorry, not March. If you are interested in signing up for Perfect Pitch, please scan this QR code and toss your name in there. Again, it's starting at 4 p.m. and it'll go till I think around 5:30 finals are. So if you make finals, you'll do that. But yeah, please sign up. And then if you are interested in joining our AMA board, please scan this QR code and fill this out. Anyone is welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Brendan or myself after the meeting. But again, we'll be having interviews the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April. So we'd love to have you. So please take a picture of this, scan this if you're interested. And we'd love to talk to you. Okay, I will now, is Konji here? Yes. Yes. I will now have Logan come talk a little bit about our Pro Bono month.
Hey everyone, I'm Logan. I'm one of the social impact co-presidents, and starting in April, we're doing Pro Bono Month, which is just a way to have marketing with a mission, real impact, and just a way to like help out our community. So these are the two companies we'll be working with, which is Triple H Ranch, which is an equestrian nonprofit organization that does therapeutic horseback riding, programs that support individuals' physical, emotional, and social development. And we have Fairhaven Senior Services, which a lot of us know about, which is a senior living community offering independent living, assisted living, memory care, and other health services for their residents. So we'll be working with all the different boards in AMA throughout the month, just getting like content, updating their websites, and doing stuff to help out our community.
Thank you, Logan. So now I will have Andy Dahl come up and talk a little bit about our digital marketing certificate and introduce our partners. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. So again, thank you all for attending today's digital marketing certificate. We have representatives from two different companies today, and we're going to do this a little bit different than the previous panel. So Colony Brands has been one of our longest partners, and we have Michael here, who is the director of e-commerce for Colony Brands. He's going to talk about some of the things that they've been doing from a digital marketing perspective and how they're starting to utilize AI. So I'm going to have him share that. And then we're going to hear from Chad, who's here from First Community Credit Union, about an exciting internship opportunity and some of the other things that they have going on before we get into the panel discussion. So for now, I'm going to bring Michael up to talk a little bit more about who he is and his role at Colony Brands and some of the things that they have going on.
Sandy? All right, as Andy said, my name is Michael Lippold. I'm the director of e-commerce at Colony Brands. Whitewater alum, CMU president forever ago. So I've been in your seat. And so I'm going to talk about a few topics and about digital marketing, really relevant to what's going on at Colony Brands. But first, shout out to Colony Brands is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year, which is remarkable for a company of its size and what line of business it's in. So what we do is really Colony Brands is a diverse portfolio of businesses and affiliate companies. So on the left side of the screen, you're going to see our direct-to-consumer retail brands, Montgomery Ward, Swiss Colony, Ginny's. All of them are supported with full e-commerce storefronts with direct mail as its primary marketing vehicle. But we do all sorts of digital marketing, which is kind of what I'm going to get into. On the other side is our kind of affiliate and services businesses. So IMS is the analytics and credit affiliate company within Colony Brands. That's who I work for. And then you'll see other ones down below. I'll just call it like SC Aviation. We own and operate a private jet company out of Janesville. Is this working? Yeah. Okay, great. So we own a handful of jets, but then we also manage other jets for people. So if you own a jet, you can't manage it yourself. You pay a company to do it, and that's what we do. Okay. So my team consists of kind of all functional areas that are required to operate full functioning storefronts. So that's everything from web merchandising, and their job is really the shopping experience on site. Navigation, search, product categorization, how products are positioned on product landing pages, and all of that. Then we have our performance marketing team. This team's primary objective is to drive new customer digital acquisition traffic. Um, they're running all of our paid media campaigns. They're responsible for very large investments across the portfolio. Um, Then we have our front end web dev team. This is the team that you think about, like if you're building a car, this is the team that's changing the color of the paint. This is the team that's changing the wheels. And then you have your back end dev team. This is the team that's changing the engine components. So the back end team is actually offshore. So we partner with our main commerce platform to do kind of offshore support. We have user experience. This is focusing on testing front end content and user experience, really with the ultimate goal of increasing conversion rate. And then we have web design. This is a new team that actually came back to our e-commerce team. Prior, they were part of our creative team, and it's really great having them back. So now they sit with the entire digital team, and all they do is focus on content, ad creation, and email content. Okay, so our customers don't live in one channel, and neither do we. So Colony Brands is running full-blown marketing campaigns across everything you can imagine. So email, SMS, call centers, catalogs, statements, postcards. Then on the digital side, we have all of our paid channels. So paid search, display, social, CTV, podcasts, you name it, we are doing it. So this really frames up the next kind of topic. I have two topics I'm gonna cover. So when you have all of those things running at once, the real question is what drove the sale, right? A consumer could be exposed to any number of the campaigns at any given time because they're all live at the same time. So, who's heard of CTV, connected TV, as a marketing tactic? No? Okay, who streams their TV? Hulu, Roku, okay. So, you know the non-skippable ads where it's counting down? You can buy that inventory, and that's what connected TV is, right? Those are low cost, ways to get in front of the people watching the big screen on the wall, right? So, um, in the past, traditional media buying for like linear TV, you have to work with a media broker that goes to the networks, and they say, "I want to buy Wheel of Fortune at 6 o'clock." That's a thing of the past if you're streaming. So it's purchased like programmatic media, where you can use a platform, select the audience you're targeting, age, demographics, interest behaviors, all of that, lookalike audiences, retargeting. So it has all the functionality that a typical digital marketing program has. So how does it work? So there's no clicking because the TV's on your wall and you're not going to click that, right? So the way that these companies, the companies in this space really addressed a core issue of measurement when it comes to TV. Traditionally, you would do geo holdout testing. So you'd find like a geographical area in the country that looks similar to the audience you're targeting, and you'd measure kind of geography of consumers to see if there's like an incremental lift from that certain group of people. So what they've done now is the technology can stitch household IP address. So your TV connects to your internet, which has an IP address. Your phone connects to your internet that has an IP address. Your phone has an IP address. So they're able to stitch all of this together and know that I served an ad to that household. That household showed up on your site because their tag is on your site, and that visitor placed an order. Pretty interesting stuff, right? So they've really solved a problem with connecting kind of what's happening off of your phone to your phone. So here's the scenario that I want to kind of show. I have some real data to show this too. So um, customer sees your ad on Hulu, they click a Google ad, they get a retargeting display, they've signed up for emails, and days later they make a purchase. So who gets the credit? Right? That's kind of the question of the day, is really how do you do that? And every company's going to approach this differently. So I say the way we approach it is we have a multi-touch attribution model. So we just don't, it's not a first click, last click. It's which click should get how much credit, or which tactic gets the credit, right? So really what this is showing is CTV works along other channels. So this is a distribution of touches that are associated to a order that had a CTV impression. So 49% of all of the orders only had a CTV touch, which is actually pretty good. It's really good, actually. But what's really interesting is the next most common touch is a Google branded search. So if you use Swiss Colony, for example, we showed the ad on TV. Great. The advertiser said, "That's my order," but they also went to Google and they typed in Swiss Colony. Well, why would you go to Google and type in a company's name if you didn't have like any exposure to that brand? So what that's showing is that that's happening, right? You can also see people serve CTV ads sign up for promotional SMS marketing. They get site retargeting, promotional emails. So there's a lot going on. And one common theme we've seen is that the larger CTV campaigns you run, so you're serving millions of impressions across the entire country, is that you start to see your branded search campaigns pick up traffic, which is exactly what you want to see. CTV has traditionally been classified as super upper funnel awareness marketing, right? Hard to measure. A lot of these newer companies that are coming into the space have kind of helped solve for that. So I just wanted to kind of, the main point here is that tactics don't work in silos. They kind of work together. And this really represents how it should be looked at from an attribution standpoint. Okay, so these are all my fun AI graphics that I made yesterday. So hope you guys like them, because I don't get to do this much at work. So what the next topic is really from channel measurement to how we go to market with our owned channels. So digital owned channels is primarily email and SMS for us. We don't have an app, so we're not pushing notifications. We're not doing any browser pushing yet. So email and SMS is how we communicate to our existing buyers digitally. And really what I want to emphasize here is that the tools in this space are changing really quickly, like really quickly. Um, Today, journeys and automations are built by teams with technical skill sets. I have a team of email developers. There's like 3 of them. We have 17 brands, so it makes sense to have that many. They're actually building the components to set up email journeys. I have a data analyst on my team who can build customer segments based on purchase behavior, demographics, all the things within our customer database. They would write a query, they would build the audience, they would send it over to the email dev team, and they'd send it. Reporting is reactive today. We might not detect an anomaly in regards to like performance until weeks after it actually happened. So it's really reactive instead of proactive. And the only AI features I'd say that exist within our email platform today is Gen AI subject lines. That's just like, hey, give me 5 subject lines for this email. You're there. Okay. Everyone does that. And then send time optimization. Honestly, this isn't, I don't even think this is AI. I think it's just looking at historical data and saying, yep, Andy opens his emails at 2 o'clock every night or every afternoon. I'm going to send my email to Andy at 2 o'clock to be at the top of his inbox. So what I'm seeing in this space is journeys are now created by agents and prompting. So instead of being like a hands-on technical journey builder, you're actually partnering with an AI agent to build the journey. That's really interesting. This is probably within the last year and a half that I'm seeing the largest kind of tech companies or the marketing tech companies in the space start putting that into products. So that's really interesting. Um, Segmentation goes to a new level of personalization. So instead of saying, I want to build a list of people who bought shoes in the last 12 months and send them an email about shoes, you can do that at scale now. So you're really getting down to thousands of segments instead of 10. Reporting is more proactive. Like I said, you're watching for anomalies. You're watching the send as it's happening in real time and saying, oh, there's something going on. Review the content. Oh, the links are broken, right? Um, in the past, you'd send the full email, and then the next day you look at reporting, you're like, oh, no clicks. Oh, well, all my links are broken. And really, what's going on is there's full journey orchestration, like built by agents. So, and it's not independently built by agents; it's co-built. So, I think that's really important here is that you don't see. Um, so what I'm seeing is like they'll get you like 70 to 80% of the way there today, but they can't get you over the finish line. So that's where the human comes in. Is they have to know the data, they have to know the objective, they have to know strategy, but they use the agent to accelerate their go-to-market. So just a couple like random screenshots from a company that I'm talking to. It's fully like ChatGPT, but it sits on top of your core business. It's building things that can deploy emails and SMS directly to your customers in real time. So it's really interesting and it's evolving really quickly. So those are my 2 really quick topics I had for today. Uh, yeah, you'll hear more from me later. All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Michael. So now I'm going to ask Chad to come up. Chad is the Assistant VP of Sales, Marketing, and Member Experience for First Community Credit Union. So he's going to talk a little bit about his background, what the brand does, and then also about the internship opportunity.
Great. Thank you. So I'm not just a fan, bear down cats. I am Arizona alumni. So I got my undergrad and my MBA there, but I'm a lot older than you guys, so it was a long time ago. So at First Community Credit Union, what's interesting is one of our board members is actually works for Swiss Colony and Colony Brands, and he does business analytics, and he and I overlap quite a bit. So you're going to ask, well, what is the assistant vice president of 60 different things? So it's basically revenue, right? So I'm in charge of making sure we're doing all the activities we need to drive prospects to our doors, qualified leads to our doors, things like that. and then helping on the other end to set up incentive systems and things like that for our sales teams and the retail side to make sure they're hitting their goals and whatnot. Because sales and marketing are two sides of the same coin in the real world, right? The marketing department at a $423 million credit union is two. There's myself as the department head, strategist, guy who does the P&L, to who's approving time cards, right? And so I'm telling you this is just because there's a big fancy title doesn't mean you're not doing the same grunt work that you've done your entire career. So that's what we do, right? That's the credit union way. I was going to say, if you are in this room and you're still paying attention, if you know the difference between a credit union and a bank, raise your hand. Yep. That's about statistically correct. So the biggest difference, and I'll tell you right now, because your generation actually really cares about this, and my job is to communicate it to you. So this, I have a captive audience, so you take advantage. We're owned by the members. We don't have shareholders, right? We don't pay our board fancy big salaries and bonuses. I'm one of the executives. We don't get that either. We're actually legally not allowed to. If you want to know anybody in my company whose salary is more than $100,000, it's public record, right? That's the big difference between a credit union and a bank. We do the same stuff. We provide loans and checking accounts and CDs and stuff like that, all the good and fun, boring stuff. But that's the challenge facing the credit union industry for the marketing side, right? Is how do I get that message out there? What are we doing? And like Mike was saying, we were actually there chit-chatting. To say it's changing quickly is an absolute understatement. I've been an adjunct at Colorado Christian University, at Central Arizona College when I lived out there, and it changes constantly. I mean, I'm listening to podcasts to try and keep up, and they're saying the same things that I'm saying. They're saying the same things that these guys are saying. And compared to Colony, we're a tiny little company, right? And we're all dealing with the same stuff because we all have the same competitive pressures, right? Now, if I asked you, which in this room, who knows what chime is? Raise your hand. Now you see why my job is so hard, right? Because I have to convince all of you that credit unions are better, and you don't even know what the heck a credit union is. How do I do it? Internship. Yes. So sorry about the internship. Just chit-chatting. So what we need help with and why I have an internship. So one of our interns, we have two spots. So our department is myself as the department head. We have a marketing specialist, Elizabeth, who does a lot of the event coordination and graphic design and web stuff and a little bit of everything. So we are in a unique place as a company in that we have grown at about 15 to 20% year over year for the last 5 years running. That's a lot of growth really fast. My position didn't exist 3 years ago. Okay. So we're growing that fast. There's going to be a lot of opportunities coming up in the future, especially expanding not just marketing, but in the retail side of things, and banking is huge. And we're interacting with, because we're such a smaller organization, I need all the same stuff that they're doing in-house, but I can't do that. That's just me, right? And there's a handful of people. So we outsource a lot. So what happens is we start interacting with companies like Swiss Colony or Alpha Rank, which is another company that we work with that has software and or capabilities that we need to use. And the cool thing is that we also work with marketing and the sports side of things. We're one of the big sponsors for the Sky Carp this year. We just signed a contract with them this year. So we also do the sports marketing side of stuff. We do the Rockford Rivets is another team that we work with down in Rockford. So to work at a credit union as an intern, you're going to get your hands into a little bit of everything. And we do the digital marketing side, and we run the website in-house, right? So there's a lot of stuff to learn, and there's only a handful of people. Right. The good news is we're implementing fun stuff. We're in a growth mode. So like you can learn HubSpot. You can come out with HubSpot certifications. We just implemented a CRM, which is a different company through Jack Henry, which is a massive tech company in the financial side of the world. So a lot of exposure to there. That's a $22 billion company. They're massive. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of exposure to the financial sector. There's a lot to do in the financial sector, and that's just the credit union side. There's the banking. There's what we call fintechs, which is what Chime is, and all the financial tech companies. We touch a lot of them on a daily basis. Just a little old credit union like us.
Perfect. And so at this point, I'm going to ask, don't go far. So I'm going to ask if Chad and Michael can come up to the front so that we can shift to the panel. So again, if you are interested in internship or job opportunities, there'll be an opportunity to visit with both of these individuals after the event. But another thing is during the sign out process, there's the option to indicate that you are interested in hearing from the company. So make sure to check that if you're interested in those internship opportunities that Chad mentioned, or again, opportunities that Colony Brands might have. So, one of the things I'm going to go off script from the questions that I provided both of you, but can we talk a little bit about your career paths or the journey to, how did you get to where you are today? Maybe a little bit in terms of your experience, or feel free to talk about, especially Michael, for, other team members at Colony Brands in terms of where they've arrived or how they arrived where they're at today.
Yeah, I'll talk about myself for a little bit. So right out of school, I found a paid internship at Swiss Colony at the time, and I'm like, "Where's Monroe, Wisconsin?" I have no idea. So I'm like, "Well, I'm graduating. I need a job, and they're gonna pay me. It's a 3-month internship." I'm like, "Fantastic, let's go do that." So I went out there and I worked there for 2 months, and I split my time between their e-commerce team and their house file circulation and budgeting department. Talk about long titles. Um, and they offered me a job, and I grew up building mail plans, financial income statements for the direct mail marketing programs. So I worked on all the brands. I spent most of my time on the apparel brands. So that includes, circulation planning, how many catalogs each customer should get, the segmentation, and then all the customer data analytics that goes behind it. What makes customers respond? What changes in your offer drove positive response or negative response? Then from there, I was asked like, "Hey, you want to go join the digital team?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Something new." So then from there, I went and worked on performance marketing, all the paid programs, learning the ins and outs of that, being really curious, figuring out what works, what doesn't, where are the opportunities. Also took over ownership of our owned channels, so email marketing, and then on to SMS, and then from there promoted to director of e-commerce, which is the role I'm in today. So probably a little bit of a uncommon story of sticking with one company for 15 years, which is crazy to say. Yes, that is not common. I'd say what is more common is the path of someone I just hired. So luckily, I was able to hire someone. He's a senior manager of digital marketing. His career path, coming out of comes from St. Louis, but he lives in the Rockford area. St. Louis worked for Purina, different verticals within that business. Then he went to agencies, so marketing agencies, partnering with all sorts of different companies, probably similar to what you're doing with kind of outsourcing your marketing, working with agencies. You have the marketers come to you, here's your performance, all that stuff. And then he was looking for a change of pace, and he applied, and now he's with us. So I'd say that's probably the most common path I've seen out there is maybe going to a larger company, jumping to agencies, and then finding your way probably back to a mid-sized company.
What about for you, Chad? What was your journey to where you are today? Can you kind of share that experience and what you've seen across your career?
My path couldn't be the opposite of Michael's if it was planned. I think Dr. Dahl is smiling because he might have looked at my LinkedIn or something, but I'm a military brat with ADD. So I've done a lot. Primarily on this side of things, in the business side of things, I worked for Ecolab, which is a fantastic company. I would recommend them to anybody, especially in the internship side. Whenever we had interns in at Ecolab, they were treated like kings, and they were worked pretty hard, and don't get me wrong, but um, that's where I got really into the sales side of things. So I come into this from the sales side, right? It was the first time I was like had the opportunity to make a massively 6-figure salary, and I'm like, hey, this is going to be fun. Let's do this. And when I was doing the sales things, got promoted territory manager, then a business development manager, and I wanted to get out of sales, and went to one of the VPs of marketing and said, hey, how do I get into the marketing side of things? And he says, do you have an MBA? And I said, nope. He says, come talk to me when you do. 3 years later, I went back and said, okay, I'm done. And he was pretty impressed. And so I moved over to that. Then I kind of embraced the lean and Six Sigma side of things and process improvement and more systems approaches, which is where I led for a little bit of my time, and then ministry and education. So, like I said, when I say I've done a lot, I've done a lot. But uh, intuitively, it all ties together with knowing people, and I say that that's what marketing really is. And in fact, the term marketing is, as we all know, is everything such as advertising. It's billboards and ads and stuff like. It's really not that, and it's the psychology of business, right? We are really the psychologists and the ones who study human behavior and action and enable how we enable them to do more of the things we want. And so I've been doing that off and on in various different ways throughout my entire career.
So, you talked a little bit about that psychology of business, and again earlier you were talking about how do you message and motivate consumers to want to join the credit union in your case. Can you talk a little bit in terms of not even necessarily digital channels, but especially on the digital side too, like marketing channels in general that you've seen in your industry having an increasingly important role in that credit union space? And then, Mike, I'll come to you next in terms of kind of what you're seeing as important marketing channels right now.
Yeah, I'd say our most important channel right now is still SMS text. The open rates are astronomically higher than email. And the technology is getting better. So I say using vendors, and there's a company called Eltropy that works exclusively in the financial sector, and they've developed some great technologies with AI. They have call center stuff. It's very similar stuff to what they do with one of their brands, and we would use them. So that's the way we would use it, is to go through them, and it partners with our loan origination system. So everybody's like, oh, they're listening to me on my phone. No, all this stuff really works. That you apply for a loan, and then we can retarget you through that whole process, through the entire, and I can see when your loan was funded, when it wasn't funded, the whole nine. And I don't know if I just rambled off and answered the question, but yeah, texting is by far our strongest channel.
Yeah, I echo that. When you look at our customer file, the tactics that drive the most value are email and SMS. Now they have extremely different variants and costs. One is really cheap and one's really expensive, so you have to be strategic when you're using SMS. Um, so from owned media and kind of marketing to existing buyers with your promotions, your offers, your specials, new product lines, all that stuff, that's our primary tactics. Channels that are most critical for digital acquisition today, paid search, Google Shopping, that's high intent stuff. That's people going to Google and saying, I need a red sweater. If you have red sweaters, you better be there, and you better have a competitive offer. So for acquisition, that's how customers kind of find you, but they're in the mode of kind of high intent shopping. Then you have tactics that are more brand awareness. So you start moving up the funnel, because a lot of challenges we're trying to solve are, if I say like Montgomery Wards and I asked 10 people, I think one might say, oh, they're still in business. So I'm like, okay, I have an awareness problem here. How do we solve that? So we start to move up the funnel and we start making larger investments, which are now kind of fueling the performance of the Google Shopping, the branded stuff. Like you just start seeing better conversion rates as you kind of invest up the funnel. So for like our B2C businesses, paid search, or kind of mid to lower funnel stuff, and then display social for like awareness and upper funnel.
And if I can, real quick, you said something that in the world of AI and AEO or GEO, whatever brand you want to put on it these days, is um, SEO is still king, and Google is still king by a lot. And it's whether you see that in YouTube videos or whatever, or podcasts. I'm telling you, from the financial sector of a little company, organic Google and paid search are still my top two online drivers by a lot.
Yep. And strong SEO foundation is where you have to start to be AEO, GEO friendly. It's table stakes at this point.
Yeah. So I love that you've started throwing out acronyms. So for those in the audience, right, marketing, especially digital, has a lot of different acronyms. So SEO, search engine optimization, If we're thinking about, again, looking forward, GEO or AEO refers to generative engine optimization or answer engine optimization. So if you're using those AI overviews, or if you're using ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever your favorite AI large language model, again, consumers are starting to do that. But as both of you shared, Google, the typical or more traditional search engine is still critical. What are some other, or you want to add to that, Michael, before?
Yeah, I can add to that. So this is a very important topic at work. We want to be ready when consumers start to make that shift, right? Queries are getting longer. When you go to Google and you search for something, these are like everything's getting longer. It's more conversational. We have initiatives to prepare our commerce sites for that. There are things you can do technically to allow the Gen AI to crawl your site. You make some robots file changes, you can let them come. And it's really important, I think, that like one of the challenges we face is like if you go to ChatGPT and you say, I'm looking for food gifts for my cousin that I can mail who lives in California. Well, our biggest challenge is Swiss Colony does not show up in that first result. So that's our priority. We need to figure that out. Also, advertising is going to start in these models. It's happening. I have a meeting with one of the largest companies next week, Monday, to talk about advertising pilots. Like it's coming. Google, I think when Google first came out, they said, we're not going to advertise. It's, best interest of our consumers and our users. And these guys are burning so much cash. They need to start making money. And advertising is the quickest way. If you look at Meta, that's where their revenue comes from.
And I think I saw that one of them has already hit $100 million in ad revenue, right? So ads are, if you're using the free versions of the tools, you're going to start seeing more ads as that user, because again, they need to monetize, they need to pay off all the cash that they're burning. So I think, and Chad, you can feel free to add more, but uh, I'm kind of curious, what other trends have you seen, or are you anticipating even moving forward as it relates to digital marketing? So Chad, I'll let you tackle that first, and then Mike, if you can chime in.
Well, for us, it's interesting because we're not a national company, right? We're geographically limited by charter. So there's a handful of counties, 17, I think, that we're legally allowed to operate in, right? So that presents its own challenges, but crud, I lost my train of thought there for a second. It must be close to 5. But in the financial sector, it's a bigger challenge. And Michael, go ahead, because I completely forgot what I was going to say. This happens when you get old.
I feel you. It's almost 5. So that last topic I talked about with email platforms, these marketing tech platforms, I'd say that is a really significant, important trend that I'm seeing in the companies that are bringing these tools to businesses like ours. They're injecting AI features. They're saying agents this, agents that. But once you weed through the noise, they're onto something and it's real. So I'd say that's probably one of the quickest emerging trends that I see within kind of our space and the tech we use to market to our existing customers. Another is obviously, what I think everyone could agree, is the explosion of AI generated content. What's real, what's fake. I think that there are companies that have a hard stance on this. They're like, we want to be authentic. We do not want to use AI content, and I applaud them for that. But when you need hundreds of different ad sets of different sizes with different value propositions. I think AI can help expand that to an extent, but you can't just go full on AI with ad creation. Otherwise, you're just going to blend into the entire environment that everyone else is doing the same thing. You're all going to start looking the same. So I think there's an important balance between being authentic, being who your brand is, and then leveraging AI to scale it. Also, we use AI for this all the time. It's also a great place to get inspiration. If you're just wanting to do some prompting to get some ideas about what an ad could look like, really great place to start. It's kind of like getting past writer's block, right? It's like you can do some prompting, get some ideas, and then you can go from there. So I'd say those are the probably two big trends I see right now.
Yeah, I'll pick up on the end there. That is exactly how me and our graphic designer communicate. So if I have an idea for a campaign, like right now we're launching a new senior focused account because while everybody else in our sector is focusing on actually your age and younger, I say, well, there's a gap in the financial sector and it's a little bit older than you guys, tailored to millennials. And I say, well, what are they doing? So working on that campaign. So I'll have an idea and say, well, this is kind of what I'm trying to get across. So then I hop over to ChatGPT, create an image billboard that looks like the la 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 la. And I go into my prompt. And then I send that over to her and look, I know this is ugly and rough, but this is the idea. And she really loves it because I don't have to sit there and try and explain it to her. And she does 47 extra iterations that AI did in 2 seconds, and I just emailed it to her. One of the other trends that's interesting in the financial side as far as consumer behavior, I didn't believe it. We contracted a company out of Chicago called Impact to do a survey for us. What do our members look like? What do our ideal members look like? The whole stuff. Because we could do that internally, but again, it's one of those things. The cost of scale. It's cheaper for us to contract somebody to do it. So we get it back, and one of the key things that popped out to me was just counterintuitive to everybody, was that the younger generations have now flipped and want branches back. They want to talk to people. You guys want to talk to people in our industry. And then I say, okay, well, maybe that's an anomaly or, something weird. Maybe a week or two later, I get information from Jack Henry, which is again this massive fintech, and they confirm it. Like 68% of the driving decision to change financial institutions is a physical branch location, and that was a trend that has completely reversed, and it has to do with AI because they use it more, you guys know about it more, and you know what it's capable of, and nobody trusts anything. And so I'm dealing with money, I'm dealing with my credit, I'm dealing with my identity. I want to sit across the desk from you. I want to at least be on a phone with you. And so my 20-year-old daughter went through this. She was applying for her first car loan, and she's going through it, obviously, with us. And she gets stuck and she goes, "Can I just call somebody and ask him how to do it?" I was like, wow. Yeah, you could. I mean, I helped her, obviously, but it was the light bulb moment to go, oh, okay, that's weird.
So, Michael, you touched a little bit in terms of some of the things from an AI perspective that you're already using, and during your presentation, you talked a little bit about other AI tools. Can you talk a little bit more about the role of AI, and then Chad, I'll have you chime in. And again, you shared the example of the billboard, the design ideas. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're seeing either within your organization or as you're interacting with other peers in the marketing industry?
Yeah, we have definitely an initiative around how can we use AI to make us more efficient, uh, or make us more relevant to our consumers. So we just internally, we take this really seriously. So we actually have an AI governance committee in Colony Brands, and this group consists of like corporate counsel, senior IT leadership, and their job is to vet all of the tools we want to use internally when it comes to AI. When you bring these things in and it sits on top of your proprietary information, your customer information, all of their data, you got to make sure it's legit and it's not leaking out, right? Um, so through that group, we bring all these ideas, and a couple of them are that have made it through is in our call centers. We are using some real-time voice translation, kind of accent neutralization. It's a two-way conversation with people with background noises or accents and stuff like that. So in real time, our call center agents can communicate with our customers and help them solve their problems more efficiently. So it's not like, what did you say? What did you say? They get it right the first time, and it's just a smoother conversation for both people on the phone. We're also launching an AI phone agent with the specific task of answering the question, "Where's my order?" We get a lot of phone calls that's like, "Where's my order?" It seems like a very AI agent thing to answer. So I think in the next week or two, that's going live. It's really interesting. Also, time on the phone is money. So, if you can do an agent to answer the question, where's my order? It's very cost effective to do that, right? Uh, we are building internal brand agents. So when you have 17 brands and I have a team of 30 people in all the various different roles. If you want to make sure that the marketing content you have going out in front of customers, in front of prospects is on brand, we're building brand agents that you can run it past. Like these brand agents are fully trained on the brand voice, the positioning, the value proposition, the key phrases, the words, all of that. And it's like, hey, smell check this marketing content through the lens of the brand agent, which is pretty cool. Oh, and it's also embedded right in Teams, which is our primary platform we communicate with. So you just kind of tag the agent, say, what do you think of this? And it tells you through the lens of the brand. It's pretty cool. Ad creation, like I said, we are doing it, but we want to definitely keep it authentic. And then probably just how you guys use ChatGPT today, we're all using it. Whether security likes it or not, we are using it. And it's used to kind of synthesize your thoughts, expand on ideas. So it's just happening in everyday work.
Yeah, and all of that. um, the center part of it is interesting. It's been about a year. We implemented Ring Central, and at the time I was in charge of the retail sales and more hands-on. And I said, we need something to analyze all these calls. And we only have 13 what we call relationship managers, bankers, the people you talk to across from desks and banks and whatnot. And fast forward now, it's learned enough that the data I'm able to get out of it with not only consumer behavior and what the members are looking for and whatnot. The Ring Sense AI that lives underneath it, that's listening to every single one of our calls, the information that the individual branch managers get back, the call center manager, what she gets back, that information or that data is powerful information because it helps us serve our members better. And like I said, for us, they're not just customers. These are the owners of our company. So we have to take what they want very seriously. We don't have shares and we don't have an owner. We're publicly owned essentially as a 501(4)(d) or something like that. But the point is, yeah, so there's one. I actually met with Jack Henry, the big company. They have their CRM is called Synapsis. That is actually what we use. And I'm old enough to know what a Microsoft Access database looks like, and it kind of lives like that. It's a database, it's a rough CRM, and it kind of does good stuff, but it needs a lot of custom programming. Well, the head of their CRM and I had a conversation last Monday with two other business consultants, and they're wanting to know how they can start using AI and changing things because they're losing their customers to things like HubSpot or Salesforce. Because I'll tell you, HubSpot, I mean, I just completed the certification for Service Hub because we had to. We're just turning on Service Hub, and now I'm going to be able to get live survey data from, somebody applies and it doesn't get approved, or they got funded and why didn't they actually take the loan? Why didn't they finish the process? Right? All this is super powerful, and AI is doing it for us. It's listening, it's doing the grunt work, and like you said, it's allowing me to be exponentially more efficient. I mean, if my boss, who is the CEO, says, "Hey, we have the board meeting tonight, but I want to know, I don't know, how's the website traffic performing?" He's not asking me what I call vanity metrics anymore. That it's the clicks are still important, driving traffic, engagements, all that stuff is still important, but it's the down funnel, it's what's coming out that is way more important. And in today's AI environment, we can answer the questions and better, or at least, like you said, use it to brainstorm and say, this is what I'm thinking. And in trying to explain it to somebody else who doesn't really understand marketing, I can just talk to this computer and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I'm looking for. What can do this? It's no longer, the question no longer is, can something do this? Is there something that can do X, Y, and Z? The answer is, what does it? And can I use it? But you said regulatory and security is a big thing. And being that we're such a smaller organization, it's only just hitting us to say that we have got to come up with policy. And that's where we are right now with our executive team. We had our executive meeting this morning, and we were talking a little bit about that, saying we need to come up with some AI policy because I use it every day in various forms, and I know I'm not the only one.
There's definitely a lot of hidden AI usage within organizations. So, you've talked about AI, you've talked about some of the more traditional digital channels. I want to shift focus and start talking about career advice and what students should be thinking about. And so, Michael, I'll start with you and thinking about if you're hiring, whether it's for an internship or some other kind of entry level position, what are some of the key skills or competencies that Colony Brands or that you personally are going to be looking for? And then Chad, I'll come to you in terms of those internship positions. What are those key skills and competencies?
Yeah, so what I look for is, there's the foundational knowledge of the role you've applied for. Let's say it's digital marketing. You went through digital marketing program. What is it called now? Emphasis. So you have your core marketing classes, which is your foundation. You have a little bit flavor of the digital marketing stuff. So now you're getting really close to probably the core responsibilities of that role. All that really should be reflected on your resume, right? When you write your resume for a company, please tailor it to the company. Write your subject line, your objective specific to that application. What you can do in the interview is the different piece. Curiosity and initiative is super important. Coming in there saying, I've done this, this, and this above and beyond just core curriculum work, being involved in AMA, CMU, other extracurricular projects, super important. It shows initiative, it shows you're curious. Clear communication, how you present yourself in the discussion or the interview is super important. Articulating your thoughts is really great. And then I'd say coachability is one of the most important. So you're coming in with zero skills. I mean, your foundational educational basics, right? Um, what I look for is if you can find someone that kind of checks a lot of the boxes that's super coachable or that you believe is super coachable, you can envision like a career path for them. Like, where do I see this person in 5 years? That's what I look for. I think coachability is probably one of the most important aspects of someone when they come in.
Yeah, I'm over here nodding my head. Yes. Coachability is huge. Um, I would say resourcefulness, right? Even if I'm looking for not just an intern, but somebody who's even just like a teller or one of our more entry level positions. It's being resourceful and being having the wherewithal to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to this, but can I have an opportunity to go find it? I'm the kind of person who's endlessly curious, and sometimes that's a bad thing. But yeah, being resourceful, being coachable, and these are the things we can teach you the marketing stuff, right? We can teach you what a CPC is, or we can teach you what an ROAS means and how to calculate. We can do that kind of stuff. What I can't teach you is uh, the attitude that says, "Hey, I work at about 1,000 miles an hour. You got to keep up." Right. And then just trying to keep up and not complaining. It's all the soft skills, to be honest. Those are very, very, very important. And we're not boomers, but our parents were. So we're old school, but not quite that old school.
Sure. So again, obviously over time, Michael, you talked about just recently hiring the senior digital manager. I think can you talk about what differs, or now a student that's out 2 years, 5 years, what are some things that they should be thinking as they're in their roles? What should they be looking for to kind of further their development to set themselves out for that career path, whether it's at the same company or even if they're looking to shift between a corporate setting, the agency setting that you talked about earlier?
Yeah. So when I interview people with experience, what I'm looking for is proven impact. What impact has this person had in their previous role? What value did they bring to the company? When I see resumes with experience, they say I managed $100 million and I took business A from 100 million to 200 million in 5 years. That's on paper really great to see. They have the hands-on expertise. They're not afraid to get into these advertising platforms. They're not afraid of going into Excel, creating an analysis and being confident to present it and share insights to, senior management. Um, you know, the way they look at how they approach their work is more business outcomes. Like I lead the e-commerce team. My business outcome is all performance driven. Like my job is to drive top line and bottom line sales and profits through our e-commerce channels. With our team, with our tools, through process improvements, through new ideas, all that stuff. And that's what I care about. Someone who just came there is like, my job is to run the paid search campaign. Like it's just a whole different level. So I'd say those with experience, if you're able to prove the value, because like when I was hiring, I think I interviewed like 30 people. It was over like 3 or 4 months because I only get one shot. You only get one shot to hire someone. And my core objective was to hire someone smarter than me, that when I bring them in, they provide immediate business impact. That's what I look for when you have experience, right? So that was kind of my approach. That's why it took so long.
I want to maybe, how could a student, even for an entry level position, because one of the things I try to tell students is if you have metrics because you've been managing a social media account or things along those lines, what could they be doing even before they're 2, 5, 10 years out of school? What are some things that they could do to demonstrate business impact or the potential for business impact, even as an entry level or intern? And either one of you, things that you've maybe either seen on somebody's resume or things that you would suggest they do.
As somebody who's worked in different sectors, different size organizations, I've owned my own company. Understanding profitability. I mean, it really, to understand where this is a business, I don't care what organization it is. It's if it's a public university or the most cutthroat, ruthless Wall Street trader, VE company, it doesn't matter. It's all about money and understanding how that works. And to me, is having just that general, the fancy term is business acumen, but it's just understanding how all this trickles down and how it works and why we do what we do.
Yeah, I think so. Andy, we were talking about maybe like if you manage the social media account before, let's say you're just doing it as a hobby. On paper, you can say I grew the following follower base from 100,000 to 200,000. Things like that are really great because um, there's more to that, right? Okay, how did you do it? Did you have to buy it? What was your strategy? What content did you create to do that? There's just I could talk for hours with someone if they're able to do that. Like, I think that's really important. um, kind of getting comfortable with data is really important as well. Someone that comes in that says, I can't get enough Excel, I'd probably hire them right away. No one likes Excel, but it's a fact that it's in every business. Does that hurt?
No one likes it. It's what I do to go to sleep at night.
I tell Andy this all the time, is that I want to see more hands-on Excel knowledge coming through the door out of college. Doesn't go away. Even with all the AI and all the automated reporting you have, you're going to have to do something ad hoc and you have to do it quick because you have people that want answers. And there's certain ways to do it. You're not going to pull out your calculator. You're going to do it in Excel, and it's going to require a lot more data. And so to aggregate that, synthesize it, tell the story, chart it, graph it, whatever it is, like you have to be comfortable with that. So I say that's another key part of this.
So, in a moment, if there are any questions from the audience, we maybe have time for a couple of audience questions. But I want to ask, again, for someone about to graduate, what kind of career advice do you have for someone that's about to graduate, what should they be thinking about when it comes to launching, I'll say more generically, a marketing career, or you can talk about it more specifically if they want to go directly into digital marketing.
Um, my wife had a cup made for me because I said it so much. Okay, so I have 10 kids. I legitimately do have 10 children. So, and I was a high school teacher, and so this is my group. And so she had me a cup made because I always have the dadisms or the whatever you call it. And one of the things I would always say is expectation is the thief of joy. Have realistic expectations. Yeah, you have a college degree and you're coming out, but understand that in your first role, entry level, whatever, have realistic expectations. Be there to learn a lot. Um, the marketing specialist who works for me, there used to be a marketing director in between us. She's no longer with the company. And I told the marketing specialist, for me to be successful is her getting a job offer for someone like Colony saying, oh my gosh, we know Elizabeth works for you. She did all this stuff. Oh my gosh, we want her. Yeah. I don't know if I answered the question right, but yeah, my answer I actually had notes. You know, see how this works. If you focus on driving real value, everything else will just follow. It will.
Yeah, those are fantastic pieces of advice. Another one that, as I was reflecting on this question, is be the most reliable person on the team. Like, do what you said you were gonna do. I think that's super important these days. When you find someone like that on your team, whether it's a direct report or a report of a report, they become your go-to person. And that's who you want to be when you're entry level, right? To know that I can trust this person, go to them and get the answers I need in the time that I need it is super valuable to the person asking for that. And never underestimate that. Ask questions. Entry level employees don't know everything, and please ask. We're here to teach. Um, and you're going to bring different perspectives, different value, but you're not going to know the core business, the details behind why the businesses operate the way they do. So just ask. I mean, don't be afraid. Don't sit there and say, I can't figure this out. I think I'm just going to move on. Like, just ask. I think that's really important. And that's something I try to preach to everyone. Uh, learn what makes the company money, because like Chad said, everything comes down to the dollar, right? How do you get paid? You get paid by the company making money, and if the company does better, you do better. That's just the cycle of business, right? So really learn what makes the company money. I think that's really important. And how do you insert yourself into those things that drive higher value within the company that translates to more money? Um, so I think that's probably the best advice I could give. That's all I got.
Yeah. No, well, I like that one. So, questions from the audience. Any questions about digital marketing, marketing in general?
You had mentioned you stayed with Swiss Colony for like ever. What has made you stay with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've not been in the same role my entire time there. I'd say what keeps me there is their their core idea and the way they run business is entrepreneurial. So you saw that slide with all the brands, but then you see on the other side of that slide all of the services. So if there is any type of business that we can get into, maybe it's other financial products that we could have an edge in, and it kind of fits our core expertise model, we will pursue it, right? Um, I think that I like the organization because it's fairly flat. I don't have a massive reporting structure. I'm two people away from the CEO. I can go down to his office. I can talk to him. I like that. And it's been like that ever since it was kind of an entry level employee. I think just as a regular analyst, I only had like 4 or 5 people between me and the CEO. I think I like that. And it's a fairly large financial company too. And I also like that they offered it's a company that never said, hey, you can't do that because it's not your responsibility. Like if you're curious and you're like, hey, I think this is some interesting analysis, I'm just going to go rogue and work on this, and I think this is insightful, they're like, go for it. Or if you have any ideas and you think that there's something to stand on there, you can go pitch it and they'll test it. uh, Everything they do is grounded in testing, analytics, and it's all about profit. And I think that that's a lot of fun. It's a privately held, family-owned company, so it's all about profit, just like the credit unions. I can generate a ton of top line demand through all of our acquisition campaigns, but at the end of the day, if those don't convert customers at the cost per acquisition I need to be at, that return future value that recoups that initial cost of the investment, I wasted my money because I could have took that money and put it in his credit union and made more on interest rate than spending it on Google and Meta. So it's just, I just really enjoy the company's view on how they go to market and how they look at incrementality and the kind of analytics base that they operate in. I think that's why I've been sticking around, and I'm not bored. I mean, I'm not bored. I guess if I was bored, I'd leave. So every day is a new challenge.
So I want to follow up with one more question. So Chad, you're a team of two, right? Michael, I think you said the team's about 30. So maybe talk about your experiences, and Chad, I'll start with you. You highlighted when talking about the internships that one of the benefits of maybe working in a smaller team is you're going to get exposed to a lot of different things. Can you kind of talk about the differences as students are evaluating different organizations that they might go to work in, and the marketing teams, if it's a smaller team, and Michael, if you want to comment maybe more from I'm going to say a larger team, but still a relatively small marketing team. So Chad, you want to?
Yeah. So I was in the Navy and my ship was a frigate. There was about 230 some, all men on board at the time. When you compare that to an aircraft carrier that has 6,000 people on it, my job existed on both places, right? But it was a very different experience in the smaller ship because I was doing things that the other guys might do once a year. I had to do it every day because there was less of us. And so that's kind of a power of a smaller team. So if and I'm our CEO literally calls me his idea guy. So I'm always like, oh, I wonder if we could do this. And you explain somebody who wants to just research and just have, yeah. Are you guys hiring? No, I'm just kidding. Being able to, crap, I did it to myself again. It was a long day. Sorry.
The benefits of
Thank you. Yeah.
kind of the culture of being in that smaller team.
Yeah.
What is that like? Again, that students should be thinking about if they're going into that smaller environment.
Yeah, so it's because there's the need. Like I told Nick, our intern, I said, look, when you're done here, if you want a certification, I'll make it happen. If it's something that's going to benefit my team, and it's something that if it's a hole that I need to fill because we need to do that thing, and I've got that outsourced right now, and it costs me $5,000 a month, but I can put you through that, and you can come out with certification that costs me $3,000. Deal. Do it for me as long as I need to, and who knows, because we're a small organization that's growing. When I was hired in December of 2022, we had 6 branches. We now have 9 with an administrative center. Well, what that means is I'm creating positions that didn't exist before. Why? Because the company has a need. And none of that was through merger or acquisition. And we are a company that says we will not be acquired. So we become the person targeting or organization targeting other organizations. So that's another thing too, is just rapid growth, smaller organization. It's I wouldn't say we're flat like that. He's my boss, but the ours is more of a matrix. It's with a lot of dotted lines, because we're in branches and everything is kind of disconnected. So, but yeah, that's one of the benefits is you're going to see things that you wouldn't get to see. You're going to be forced to be resourceful with things because we don't have the budgets. There's companies. If we compare us to Chase, Chase spends more in a month on marketing than our entire company is worth. I mean, it's so different experience.
Yeah, so a team of 30 on the e-commerce team, and then within IMS, I think we get up to about 100. But within the 30, we have 17 retail brands. So when if you just divide it, right, that's not a lot of people per brand. So what I'd say is some of the value that the team of our size, someone like being involved and being a part of a team of our size, is the level of responsibility you get. Um, you know, for our performance marketing team, they're responsible for one or two digital marketing programs, and they're spending millions of dollars every year. That's a lot of responsibility. And that role could be someone who just started out of school, or it could be someone who's been there for 10 years. So I'd say probably the level of responsibility is important, because then when your team gets too deep, everyone's doing a little bit of everything. Like, I do this one thing and I'm gonna do that one thing and go home. When your team has to be resourceful, you're gonna do a lot more things. And that's how you learn. That's how you figure out what you like. That's what you figure out what you don't like, and can help really guide your career path.
All right. So again, I want to just take this opportunity, and if everybody could join me, thanking Michael and Chad for joining us today. Again, there will be an opportunity to complete the survey to sign out. If you're interested in jobs and internships, make sure to check that. There should be a little bit of time. I think that they may be able to stick around and have a few conversations afterwards, probably out in the atrium. But I'll kick it back to Taylor.
Yeah, so please fill this out. And then next week, we're going to be having free food at our divisional meetings. So here is our weekly schedule. I think we're going to be doing subs. So we'll start that. They'll be there for the social impact meeting. Any questions, feel free to ask Brendan or I. And then here's the QR code again if you need it. But if you have any questions and you're all set, you're free to go. Thanks for coming. If you're on all board, please just stay in here, but just come to the front because we'll do the meeting in here so we don't have to move.